From the Shir in Halacha, this is the new Haskalah for the new year. This is called a Shana. Just a few minutes of Halacha each morning. The Menachem said that it's a kiruv. Menachem left a request, a tzavah, that it is absolutely compulsory, without exception, for every single Jew to learn Shulchan every day. No matter what else, this cannot be skipped. You must learn Shulchan each day. There's no exception to that rule. No matter how busy a person is, or where he is, Shalom is in a place where even the Jews in the concentration camps don't do it. They have to learn a piece of Shulchan each day. If even one line, one sentence, there are certain halachas that it's brought in the Bavly that this halacha, they should be a halacha psuka, which means there are dinim which they're machlekes. Debates about in the Shulchan Aruch, the Gemara. The debate means that it's left so hanging. You have to have a halacha which is unquestionable. We all agree this is the absolute halacha. So we want to explain, you recall, the Gemara says that when a person leaves, he leaves. This is a din that a person leaves. He's about to depart. They go on a trip. We just came back, so remember this for next time. A person leaves, the Gemara says that the person should not let somebody depart without saying a Devar Halacha. Because if you say the Halacha, the last words, you know that the person made it in memory, very solid. So the person can put together two dinim. One says that there's a certain angel, a malach, who is called a malach of Shriya, who guides a person during his journeys. This malach is name spelled Yud Vav Kei Chav. And where does this name come from? We come to the last letter, Ki Malacha V'Yitzalach Hashem L'Chonecha. Ki Malacha V'Yitzalach. Hashem will command his angels to guide you. The last letter is Yud Vav Kei Chav, which is the name of the Malach of Shmira. That's the meanwhile, so this is the Malach of Shmira. So therefore, it says that when you want to say, the Bible verse says, you got Halacha. Halacha means an absolute din, no question about it. There's a din in the Gemara which says, unquestionably, that the law is like the majority. Yochid Benabin, there's one of many, Halacha Kedab, Nilamez Akmini. This is a din where you know you can say it, no question, there's no debate about this, it's a very perfect din. But this would be that you say, as not Halacha, you say goodbye to a person, you say these words, Yochid Kedab, because the first letters of those four words are Yud Vav Kei Chav, the Malach, Shmira Benedech, regarding a person. So, we have to have a Halacha that's true, the Arizal says, it must be a halacha that's absolutely settled. Not one where it says, didn't say the word it's a shaila. Again, it's a shaila question. That's what we're trying to learn each day. They did a certain thing. Today we continue to deal of items that are for the sake of health. Last chapter we had the second question of health. We dealt with food, then of course there are other items that I don't know where we were. Next thing is standing up. These are most of these I was taking with an Rambam who wrote about health, medicine health. He says that every person should do exercise in the body because this will help him to develop himself. Plus, as the Gemara says, that muscles, strength, are very good. But if you give them a rest, they will become stronger. If you use them, utilize them, then they become stronger each time. Use your muscles, use your strength, lifting, and so forth, everything you do, exercising, that will strengthen the body rather than to sit idly and weaken it. If you don't use an item, it becomes rusty, and chavruta sets in, even in the parts of the body. So a person should see to it that he should always set aside a time for exercise, because a healthy body is a very good eved, very good servant for the neshama. As far as sleep is concerned, it's a very important topic. We have Shana. Sleep is concerned, it's a very important topic because this is something that's so precious to most people, especially when it comes to the morning, the davening, all of a sudden that Shana becomes something that you can't part from it. Let's say farewell to it, say Halacha, like saying get up. And this Sheda, of course, the government says that there's a certain kind of sleep that is so powerful that it takes a person right out of this world. Sleep originally is 1/60th of death. Exactly 1/60th instead of death. Which means that to become muddled. A person who allows himself to go into too much during the morning hours, the Gemara says that could take a person right into the other 59 parts. And if he remains alive physically, but surely, as a shown spiritually, it's the Beitzi Yisrael with Adam. It's the Sheda Shel Shachas, to sleep in the morning. Sheda Shel Shachas, Tefillah Shachas, the person sleeping. Means that even if he's sure he sleeps during Shachas, it's also without having kavanah, it's not good. But the point is that a person should know to allot the correct time for sleeping and to avoid spending that time when they should be awake. Of course, we need those who are absent today to tell them this too. Let's hope that they get the message, give them the message. The amount of sleep is good for the proper people made, of course, to rest the body's organs that are tired and to renew the strength. Also to allow the digestive process to take place. So too much sleep, of course, brings also would bring the vapors, or these food, spoiled vapors, right to the brain. Too much sleep definitely is harmful to the brain. See, a person's mind is in a state of lethargy, not because he's sleeping, it's because he's overslept. His mind is slow, dull. This means, of course, a person that had an oversleep. But the right amount of time to sleep, according to the number, it's 8 hours within 24 hours, 8 hours a night. This, of course, refers to smaller children. Later years, as you get older, you need to require less and less sleep. It's brought to the basically that there's a puzzle. Oz Yanuach, Oz Ishon, Oz Yanuach late. Oz Ishon, if I sleep then, and then Yanuach I'll be resting. Oz, Aleph Zayin is 8. So Oz Ishon, if I sleep Oz 8 hours, Oz Yanuach I'll be resting. The some who say that, of course, that's the others who say that. Right ones say, Oz Ishon, if I sleep 8 hours, Oz Yanuach I'll be rested for Li is 40 hours. Which means I need 8 hours plus 40 awake. In 48 hours, 2 nights, 8 hours is enough, which means 4 hours a night, that's sufficient. Now you have to find a happy medium between the two. And then what you have to do is to see that sleep, which is beneficial to the body, should not be detrimental to the neshama. See that they do not clash. Not the sleep do all the world of good, not at the expense of the chiyuv and the neshama of davening and learning. That's a definite halacha, which is able to guard our health, both the gashmias and the ruchnias. We got it properly. Hashem will watch over us and we'll be saved from all types of halal and kind of sickness. Also the gashmias, which you see the opinion based Mikdash with the Shechmei. The topic of sleep, which is very beneficial, because during the time of sleep the neshama becomes revived, strengthened, and actually the body too. The neshama is sent out to be judged, of course, during that time. Returns in the morning refreshed. Be able to serve Hashem with more vigor. This is brought the Rambam at the same time is brought also in Sifrei Kabbalah, that sleep has a special time set for it. Not sleep is at night, not by day. To sleep by day could be harmful. Presumably the Rambam means in a physical sense, and the Sifrei Kabbalah means in a spiritual sense. Of course, Arizal brings this very strictly, very seriously, in the sense of the person who goes to sleep as the neshama leaves him. And when the neshama leaves, the body becomes defenseless. This way they're always in the air, it's filled with spiritual beings, Ezekiel, harmful spirits, that could enter into the body, except that the neshama defends the body against its attack. When the neshama leaves, the body becomes defenseless, and these evil spirits enter into the body, which is why in the morning, when the neshama comes back, these spirits are driven out. We have to wash our hands 3 times, purify the tips of the fingers, where the last remnants of these spirits remain. During the day, there's more than just spirits that can go into the body. During the day, the Arizal says, when a person is sleeping, the neshama leaves, he's liable to get a different neshama to come inside. In most cases, most cases, the neshama they come during the day is not a good one. It's called a type of kiruv during one's life. Kiruv where a person, a person can get not just his own neshama, so the neshama become this goggle during his lifetime, and he could cause a lot of harm, which is the reason why many times, most times, the person suddenly switches, he changes. He was very good, he dropped. Well, then he dropped. It's something which caused another neshama to come inside a bedroom. It's a very deep topic, and of course, this is what's known as the Chavruta and this deep truth. But it's too deep for us to go into very far, just enough to know. This is the reason why daytime sleep are not good, except, of course, those who are pure, and those who sleep by day for a different reason. Those who, Rosenfeld call it those who take advantage of the golden nights. Golden nights are the winter nights, for example, which are very long, and those who do not sleep during those nights. While the rest of the world is asleep, slumbering away, these people, these tzadikim are up all night, saying chatzos, explaining this learning, and those people are the ones who they should sleep by day, not by day. Those who we can show us see examples of such people. Most of those people are from our Arizal followers. So a person should try to avoid sleep by day, except on Shabbos when it's not harmful for this reason, but it is a little data could be spent better if a person doesn't need it. We get used to it on Shabbos becomes a need, necessity. So when you're young, it should be avoided if possible. Further dealing with health items, one of the most important items for health is fresh air. Air that is not polluted. Air that, of course, won't ever want to sound like these literally maniacs are willing to destroy cities and country because of the existence of pollution to a degree. A person should simply try to live in a place, not a factory district, live in a residential section where you have updates to smoke, where the air is clear to a degree, where there is enough ventilation, and where the rooms are wide enough, so that it's not cramped, it's not stuffed. If possible, Talmud says that a person should not live to the windows facing the north, because there, it's not just the air, but the light is unhealthy. Light you get is reflected light. Sunlight is healthy to a degree. It should not be overdone, of course. The Gemara says a sunburn is not healthy, and this is for years, for centuries probably, people have taken the sunburn, suntan, considered vitamin D, Chassidut, and so on. They're studying the man to realize that the sunburn causes a skin cancer, that one is not. And both of them are wrong, of course. Never doctor said it wrong. But the Gemara does say that sun should not be taken to excess. It is not good. It's called not good, so you should try to avoid the sun. You don't want too much of it. But as the sun still itself rays are healthy. However, the reflected rays of the sun, let's say, is in the south, and hits the north windows, which then reflect back to those windows in the north. Again, the reflected rays of the sun, those are very unhealthy. A person should avoid these reflected rays. And then the Din says too that the person should see to it there should be enough good light in the house, not to strain its eyesight, avoid any smoke gets into the eyes, or tears of sadness. We once had a discussion tomorrow about which tears are healthy. Feel honey is that's healthy, yes, tears. One thing more, it says that one of the most harmful items for a person's health, anyone's health, is the heating system in a house. A person should not allow drafts of cold air to prevail throughout the winter season. At the same time, the more foolish is it, says those who allow the house to be overheated, too much heat. This overheating of the house causes a number of sicknesses, illnesses. Of course, a person is very fortunate that he could try to train himself, this has to be only young, train himself to be able to take the colder air, not dress, but colder air, without overdressing. This could be a person who train himself that way, and then he's very fortunate later on. He would go around with less covering, less clothing, less heavy clothing in the coldest time. He's still not feeling comfortable. Especially in one's house, the heat should not be brought to a high pitch because this can cause still healthy. Unless, of course, there are exceptions, people who are heated, and it's just a question of, let's say, Morrison has fools catch colds. Some people are smarter than others. Some people can have thicker skin than others. You get a lot of dumb animals who don't catch colds too. It could happen. In any event, the normal case, the person should try to avoid temperature that's too high in the winter time. Summertime is hot in the winter time. Try to avoid temperature too high for the house. Because a lower temperature is much more helpful. All these items we study until now are items that are nice as far as keeping one's healthy. It seems to be another said that anybody who follows this advice, then he's not tougher. He's not tough. He promises the person will never get sick. He'll live a whole life and not getting sick. It's very good. Of course, you have to have one more thing you need. Besides that, never to commit a sin. Because you can says that sickness comes because of sin. So you have to follow this physical advice. Plus, don't ever commit a sin, and you're pretty well off this world and the future world. Again, the last item that's brought here is the fact that the eyesight, the person should guard his eyesight because the eyes are next to the heart, the most important organs. And to avoid the bad, sharp, tangy smells or the air that can harm the eyes, smoke, dust, so forth, or even taking big steps. Not when you're young, of course. Only take big steps. The ignorance destroys the eyesight. One case, though, we find the health, good health for the eyesight is the posek says mitzvah Hashem Torah and Idas Enai. This says that Hashem is clear, they give light to the eyes. That's what the ignorance of one eats from the day of Aharon, and this brings to lightness in the eyes of purity. Because today, of course, is the letters Yidah, Idas Hashem, which is mitzvahs, that brings the greatest light. Health for the eyes, if you accept it fully, mitzvahs, to be able to serve Hashem, all our evidence that he did, that's of course to see the Yerushalmi. You say that tefillah on Rosh Hashanah, as Arizal says, is the person to shed tears. Must be tears, because Bechlal, the Gemara says that the gates of Tefillah closed. Since the Churban Beis Hamikdash service, the gates of Tefillah in heaven are closed. The 12 gates, the 12 Shvatim, these gates are closed, and there's no way to get through. How does it Tefillah get through? With tears, the gates of tears are always open. They cannot be locked. So, therefore, especially, on a Shani and Kippur, when this means the judgment of the entire year, person should sleep with his tears. The Arizal brings from the story of the Zaydik Kodesh that a very great tikkun is to take the tears and to smear them or wash your forehead with these tears. The hands too, because the Arizal brings about purifying the hands. Wash the forehead because it is brought in the Zaydik Kodesh that every person originally, he's born, he's pure, so he has the letters of the Aleph base on his forehead. Same, which means he has a Torah, because the Torah itself is called the 22 letters. You take these 22 letters from Aleph until Tav, S, the word S, which encompasses everything. These 22 letters are all you ever find in the whole Torah. Any part of the Torah, the Shiksav, the Kabbalah, only these 22 letters, just different combinations. Seal from these 22 letters. That's the whole Torah. Remember, since everything is through the Torah, because Hashem Himself created this world with the letters in the Torah. And then He's going to show us how each letter was used. So therefore, person too, each person himself is a Torah, because the Torah is composed of 613 mitzvahs. Each human being is composed of 613 parts too, 248 avanim, organs, and 365 tenets. So therefore, on the forehead of the person, there is found and can be seen the 22 letters of the alphabet. Depending upon how good the person is, the Arizal answer this. A better person has 44 letters, a better one has 66 letters. Please, either person has one aleph base, 2 or 3. And again, this has 3 aleph bases on its forehead. The point is, though, it's there. But if you look closely, you won't see it. If we stand looking at it all day long, we'll see nothing. It's only the tzadik who can see this, and he can repeat it. Like the Chaim tells us, says that Arizal could look at any person's forehead and read those letters very easily and very simply. There was no difficulty whatsoever. So too, the Hashem did it. You think everything you can do. These letters are the key to the condition of the neshama. Just like you touch the pulse, a good doctor, and it's a theoretic word, non-existent, a doctor could tell the condition of the person's health just by touching the pulse, if he knew anything about medicine. So too, the condition of the neshama can be told through these letters. Now, what happens is, let's say the tzadik could see. What does he see? He sees certain letters that fade away because of the sin that's been committed. The sin is committed and certain letters become faded, which means that he has destroyed part of the Torah, certain mitzvahs. So what happens? Why are they faded? Because on top of them they have now the Torah resting on top of these letters, which makes them fade away. If there's nobody to see it, it doesn't mean it's not there. It's still there. The letters are faded. The person's committed a sin and part of his neshama is weakened. So by a person, if you take, let's say, very powerful detergent and rub your forehead with that detergent, you might get a headache or anything. You might become very clean or away the skin, but it's not going to get anywhere near those letters. Nothing you do with those letters. The only thing that has a power over these letters is tshuva, and especially to literally clean it away, it's the tears that a person sheds, tears of tshuva. These tears then, when you wash the forehead, cleanse it completely. This is what the Arizal teaches us as far as tefillah. Tefillah is important with tears. We didn't mention, I forgot to mention that Wednesday night, Rav of Breslov was the chazan of the Uman, the main chazan, the main Latvah. Rav of Breslov, just as we find in the Zaynek Kodesh, we find stories like Moshe Feinstein. When they asked Moshe Feinstein a question, now he says, Bacha, he cried, and then he answered. The whole story with the Saba Kadisha, the Evasava, when they met the Evasava, he gave him a whole revelation about all these secrets of the Gilgulim. Each time it said he cried. At one point, somebody says, you think I'm crying like a little baby? Like a baby cries? I'm not. My tears are what bring down the Mayim of Torah. Menachem says that before Chiddush Torah, a person cries, this is the water that comes out of the stone. They should have struck the stone and the water came out. It's the water of the Torah. These tears purified and able the Torah to come forth. So that's why these tears are ones of such kedusha that they can bring forth, they can purify and bring forth everything. Like Arizal, his time as a Baksila, those who knew him, those who davened there, would marvel at the fact that there was what they called, in a sense, the Saba Kadisha. Because every word, like clockwork, as a Baksila, the long davening, there's a lot of words. Don't forget the Chazal Zashat and the Shoshana is the longest tefillah of all. Each word, a word, a tear. With every word there was another tear. Same with the Saba Kadisha, instead of crying like an infant, like a child, This is not infant's tears. This is kedusha. Same as the Arizal and all the not the way you find that the goyal, the well that opens up kedusha, tefillah, not a tears. There are some people who it's a matter of nature. By nature, they are very difficult to be able to shed tears. Others will have that well. Of course, that's developed. Arizal speaks about his loneliness. He himself will have the story of Arizal's life. He himself cried to Hashem constantly to negate everything. And there are stories about the Arizal's whole rivers of tears. Rivers of tears. And of course, you can understand that through these tears, the elevation, the kedusha. There are some who physically, the makeup is such that they cannot cry, cannot get tears. So at least in those cases, a person should try. Now, if a person's nature is not to be able to cry, then he trains himself, he forces himself, he'll find that there's an adverse reaction. It's much harder to have any tears. So, not to use any force, simply, but instead of using force, physical pressure, put more mental pressure into your feelings of tefillah. The tears will then come. Now, in order to fulfill the requirement of tefillah 2 on Rosh Hashanah, of course, we said the average person, the Beinoni, who it is said, Halavai, we should be a Beinoni. Beinoni is average, a tzadik, a Beinoni, and a Russian. Why should be a Beinoni? The Beinoni requires 10 days of Teshuva. In Kippur, he's when he gets his kapot. The tzadik emes, plus those who are close to the tzadik emes, they get their kapara on Rosh Hashanah. So therefore, very fittingly, it is fit if a person can do it. There are some who never get so much said, but it is fit if a person can do it to say the whole Tehillim on both days of Rosh Hashanah. First day and the second day. Because there are 150 chapters in Tehillim. This, both days together, is that kankan, that's Mole Yoshan. Kankan, that's together, twice for the Simatia Kaper. Kaper, that's the kapara for both days of Rosh Hashanah. As we saw also, we left that halacha yesterday that Shira Molas has said before Baruch. It happens there are some people who are habitual latecomers. They come into shul late. When the chazan is up to Baruch, Shira Molas, he's first up to Ashrei, or he's first up to his Lukagla, or he's first out even on his throne. So, in this case, it then says very clear that you must say Shira Molas with the minyan, with the chazan, and then, when you get to it yourself, you say it again. This is a question that's been bothering people throughout the ages. We're very glad to supply the answer that you should say it both times if you've been a bad boy to become late. You should be up to the minyan, davening with them and say it once. That's a good sign. It shows you davening with me right. I got what time? A couple minutes. The whole point of Rosh Hashanah is the head. And what is the head? The head is Emunah. Emunah, belief in Hashem. What is Rosh Hashanah? Day of creation. It's not exactly day of creation, but day of creation is 6 days before. But this is called day of creation. Because it's the time when the other nation was created. So the head Emunah that Hashem created the world originally, 5,735 years ago, plus the emunah that the world exists today because of Hashem. This is emunah in Hashgacha Prati. Hashem provides the necessities of the entire world, from the smallest germ or worm to the largest, what they call prehistoric dinosaur. Or even provides the life of the skyscrapers. They're not alive, yet they have to have the existence of Hashem within them to remain. Otherwise they would disappear. Now, there are lahavdil, go into the tumor, there are scientists who come up with these false theories, and of course every generation we find these theories disproven. The scientists generally work their theories through mathematics. Mathematics, which is a very good chachma. The Rosenfeld calls it one of the true chachmas, one of the truisms of the world. You'll find that scientists work at even the theory of the universe, and so forth, mass and so on, these equations through mathematics. They've tried to prove against the Buddha. So mathematics is a very vital item because the whole Kabbalah is based on mathematics, practically. Avdil. There's a certain book written by a very big scientist. He's the best doctor. He's the best scientist. In this book, he writes very advanced mathematical formulas for scientists, advanced mathematicians. And he writes there are certain chapters on the unusual aspects of mathematics, miracles you can perform with numbers and so on. There's one item, just to bring up an illustration I saw ages ago. Shulchan, who was a mathematical genius, showed me this. Somehow, even a genius can be taken back. He said, here's a case of a scientist is trying to prove wrong, and yet how can you refute it? Not that there's chashav and doubt and faith. We believe that the scientist is wrong. But it'd be nice if he can refute it. Baruch Hashem puts an idea into the mind and it's refuted. The theory is like this. Very simple. This is mathematics for a third grade elementary school. Okay? Is that too high? The fractions are also percentages. Not going to the fourth grade anyway. The most simple fraction above a half, that's a half we go past that, is 1/3. Now 1/3 is one of those nasty rules called ad infinitum, to infinity. The fraction 1/3 is written as 3 or 0.3333 ad infinitum ad nauseam. Right? Till infinity you have this unending bit which is 1/3. So you have, let's say, 1/3 is 0.33 and so forth. Let's say a third of 10 will be 3.333, and all the numbers you want, you won't get any place further. But 1/3 is, there's no other way to write 1/3, okay? 0.333. No other way, because that is 1/3. Now, very simply, if you take 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3, you're going to have a solid number. No infinitum, you'll have 1. Take 0.333, add infinitum, add it again. And the third time, what do you have? Triple Gaussian. You have 1, you'll have 0.999, yeah, 3, the 3 is 6, the 3 is 9, right? 0.999 to infinity. Okay. How do you reconcile this? It's too deep, right? The fact is that here you have a definite 1 is a stira, a dictionary, somehow. So, that was the question. That's this person brought it as a sign. I don't want to say what, but they were leading to something, a kriya, a fantastic theory. So, the answer is, what was it? I told the answer is not that they proved something there, mesmerizing, which was nice, because they had a whole thing written there. They had a whole, by giving a shiur, you base a shiur on a premise, and you say that the whole thing comes out. So I said, let's destroy his premise, the foundation, and we'll destroy all his kefida. Menachem says, let all the poison come out and it's destroyed. The answer is that 1/3 is not really 3 ad infinitum. Because, why? Because that same thing will destroy them. Ad infinitum means that you have, let's say, 400,000 after the 3's. Is that 1/3 yet? It isn't. It means that you'll never get, this fraction will never be really fulfilled. Never. You'll never reach the fraction. So 3 times that will never reach the 3 times the fraction. You'll have 3 times 1/3 is a solid number, is 1, but you will never get to the equivalent, not of the 1, but of the 1/3, in the first place. Now this is I picked out a very small example of how the mind, what's the answer in this case? Regardless of what we learn, the Kedusha, whether we understand it or not, there's a bigger problem. We have to have emunah shleima in the Kedusha, in the perfection of the tzadik, the words of Hashem. So, for example, one of the most difficult controversies in existence, which I really believe is what the Arizal said about the wave, the tidal wave that will destroy the majority of people, destroy their faith. When Mashiach comes, most Jews will fall. Jews will fall. Even the kosher ones, the religious ones, the learned ones. What will cause them to fall? This is a definite proof point. This is what the Arizal meant. This is what's going to happen. There'll come a time when the scientists will bring forth rockets, satellites, anything that will prove, they'll want to prove, falsely of course, that the sun revolves around the earth, that the earth revolves around the sun. They want to prove the earth revolves. The earth is mobile, it moves. When the Torah, the Gemara, many places in the Zaydik Kodesh state very emphatically that the earth is absolutely stationary. It's the sun that moves around the earth. That sun moves. Not the sun is there, the earth is moving. Chas Shalom. On this, the scientists have tried to prove to the fact they sent satellites out into space, and so it proves their theory, which of course is a very good point for those who want, those who have faith in Chassidus. Because it is brought, the Yishen Mihail says that this point specifically about the earth and the sun, he said one of the greatest of the Yishenim, but also one of the greatest of those who fought Kfira. Tremendous. His words all over throughout Shas, you'll find the words of Rabbi Arizal right through. He said that we're telling you this, that the earth is stationary, and if later on, he says, scientists come up with fancy kind of instruments with long-range telescopes and so on, and they will prove to you that it's the opposite, know that that all that is created in heaven is a test. It's a test of your faith. You're warned in advance, right? The Vedas are also warned in advance. I'm telling you now, there's become a tidal wave out because of the Kfira. Know in advance, and despite my warning, he said, I'm telling you, a lot of you are going to fall. I should tell those who remain. But at least, this is one thing which I've had many controversies throughout the years about this with Rosh Yeshivas, with Gedolim. That's why I proved that point in that even the Gedolim will fall. Now, I had certain cases of Shevchikin before, and they said, of course the Gemara is right. What's the Shem? How can you dare ask a question like that? After they visited with these Russian Sputniks, they came back and they said, well, it's, something you can't argue against facts, scientists. One was right. All right, because so that's something which we should be zealous to be among those few. Mashiach comes, we'll be able to hold out with the pure, unadulterated emunah. Emunah that's unquestioning. Even if it's something that we don't understand, it's a formula that's far too deep for us. The better says something, you believe it without question, we accept it faithfully, implicitly, because it is push of emunah only will the Jews be redeemed from lowest. Now, we'll see what our rise becoming a Mashiach. We'll continue the dinner of Rosh Hashanah tomorrow because we have a week full of the laws of Shofar. We don't want to trust about Tkaya. You don't know what's going on. The Halacha's dinner of Rosh Hashanah, the laws of Rosh Hashanah that refer to the blowing of Shofar. So, there are things that are not revealed in the Gemara. The Zaydik Kodesh goes into it. Rosenfeld enlightens more than any other sefer of a Fanish that exists. This we believe. For example, the Gemara says the halacha of blowing shofar is there are three kinds of sounds. Tekiah, that's one long, shvarim, 3 medium, trua, 9 short. We'll get to the detailed halachas later. Tekiah, 1 long, shvarim, 3 medium, and trua, 9 short. Now, there are what are known as sedorim. A seder means a set. A set is, for example, tekiah, and then shvarim, trua, and then tekiah again. A set must have a tekiah at the beginning, tekiah at the end. One set has shvarim and trua, the 3 medium and in the middle. The second set has tekiah before, tekiah afterwards. In the middle you have only the shvarim alone, the 3 medium. Third set is Tekiah before, 9 short in the middle Teruah, then Tekiah again. So note that these are the only 3 kinds of sets there are. Always the set begins with Tekiah, ends with Tekiah, you have Shvarim Teruah, or Shvarim alone, or Teruah alone. The reason why we have all 3 is because we have to have the sound of a person crying. We are in doubt as to whether a person gasps or sobs, or does one alone or the other. That's what the Gemara tells us. Now, in order to facilitate this, to make it easier, instead of having to say Tekiah, Shvarim, Teruah, Tekiah, you get tired. So we have it abbreviated. It's called Tashrat. We call it Tashrat. Tashrat, the Taf is Tekiah, the Shin is Shvarim, and the Reish is Teruah. Why is the Reish Teruah? Therefore, Teruah starts with a Taf also, because if we call the Teruah Taf, you'd have Tekiah Teruah the same letter. You would know the difference. Follow this carefully. Therefore, you're supposed to have, we are compelled to have Taf for Tekiah and Reish for Teruah. Right? There's another way of doing it. The Lady Kodesh says that, let's be fair. If you have Tekiah and Teruah with the same first letter, remove both of them. Remove both first letters. Be fair. So Tekiah is what? Kuf. Teruah is Reish, and Shvarim is Shin. Teruah is Reish. So you have the word Kesher, as Lady Kodesh says, Kesher, which is the greatest tie, a bind, as the 3 of a Sakdashim. Avraham and Yaakov are tied together. They represent, of course, the 3 Sfiras, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, tied together. This too, as Lady called it, Tikuney Zohar says also we could do it the other way. We could give Teruah the break. Give Teruah a break, call Teruah the Taf. And Tekiah, leave with the Kuf. If you do it, you have the word Keshes, which is the rainbow. Again, the rainbow has 3 colors, basically. The rainbow stands for the 3 of a Sakdashim. The of a Sakdashim. You cannot look at a rainbow. You are forbidden to look, a Jew to look at a rainbow, just as you can't look at the hands of the Kohanim. Things that a Jew can never look at. One is a rainbow because it has the Kedusha of the Shekhinah. Combination of Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, the 3 others, there you have the Shekhinah you cannot look at. Now, since we have these 3, the combination of Keshes or Kesher, Tekiah, Shvarim, Teruah, and we have resolved that in this Kesher, the Tekiah is Chesed, the Tekiah is Avraham Avinu, which is Chesed, kindness. The Shin, the Shvarim, is Yitzchak Avinu, which is Gevurah. Tekiah is one smooth, kindness is a smooth line. Shvarim broken up, it's harshness. Break. Teruah, again, is even. Long, even one, cut up, because it combines both. It's the long line, but cut up to combine, Abraham, Yitzchak, combining Chesed, you have Tiferes. That's Yaakov. Now, Rosenfeld says that what is actually the purpose of the blowing of the shofar? What does it show? It shows Teshuva. What do we blow shofar for? The Rambam says the sound is made to awaken those who are asleep. Udu Yishenim, wake up you who are asleep. Go back to Hashem, you who have strength, you have won. So what happens? A person, how does a person do Teshuva? A person first is going along smoothly on the righteous path. That's Tekiah. Chesed, kindness, goodness. The right path, Tekiah. One long, it's what they call a straight path. And then, Shvarim. Neither the Sahara, the sudden overtakes and he gets broken up into sins. What does he have to do? Teruah, after he's got to go back to do Teshuva. Do Teshuva, thereby complete the thing. Do Teshuva. Once he does this Teshuva, what do you have then? You have again Tekiah at the end. It shows that he's smooth again. Teruah is the Teshuva, and automatically you have the Tekiah later, which shows that there is a smooth path once more. So this Teshuva, Teruah, we know now, we understand now, that since the Teruah stands for Yaakov, Tipen Emes for Yaakov. What is the true Teshuva? Emes. A person does Teshuva be Emes, with sincerity and truthfulness. Then he completes that Keshes, Shekhinah is close to him, and he is back to the tekiah, the smooth path. These are the dinim of tshuva. The dinim of really fulfilling the mitzvah of tekiah shleifa. Arizal goes further. He says if we go a little bit deeper into this, we'll see that tshuva is required for various types of sins. There are three kinds of sins. One is a sin that a person does. He plans, he thinks, he sees. The Gemara says his eyes see, his heart desires, his mind plans, and he goes ahead and does it. Chas v'shalom. Completes the action. So you have machshava, thought, and maisa, action. Second is a kind of a sin that's machshava alone. Thought alone, where it means a person sits and just has bad thoughts. He thinks about it, evil thoughts, which are asur. For example, the chilabris, machshava is just as bad as maisa. And sometimes even worse, the Gemara says, kosher, but the thoughts of chilabris, doing wrong there, is worse than the action. That's maisa, that's machshava alone. Second kind of a sin. One is machshava and maisa, one is machshava alone. The third is maisa alone. No thought, just action. For example, a sin b'shegeg. A person does a sin b'shegeg accidentally, inadvertently, unintentionally. That's action without thought. These three require tshuva. And this is what the three stand for. The three sets. Shavorim stands for shavorim. That's the action of broken, to break. The actual maisa, the action of Shvarim stands for the machshava. Shvarim is the break. Why? Because the emes in Sitra Achta, in Tumah, machshava is worse than maisa. We said Yehudim is worse than maisa itself. Shvarim stands for machshava, thought, and Truah stands for the rat-tat-tat, the action, according to real action. Shvarim the thought, the plan, Truah the action. So therefore we have to have three sets. Tashrat, where you have Kia, Shvarim, and Truah. When you hear that, you have Kavanah, Tshuva for a sin which had Machshava and Maisa. When you have Tashat, Kia, Shvarim, Kia, just the Shvarim alone. You have a mind to do Tshuva for anything with Machshava alone, just the bad thought. And Tarat, Kia, Truah, Kia, for a thing which is only action alone, Maisa, without Machshava, which is the Shekhi. These are the three items which are required for tshuva. A person does that, then he knows that the final tekiah is assured. Why? Because this person is drawn. Hashem wants a person back. And Hashem gives a hand. He lends a hand. Hashem lends it, doesn't lend. Better, he gives a hand to those who are sinners. What kind of sinners? There's also three kinds of sin. A sin accidentally, a sin deliberately, it's much worse. And the worst of the sin is done spitefully. You get a person who's a real Russia, evil to the core, will spitefully do something which is against the faith. A person like that, Hashem says, you went against me spitefully. Your purpose, you went to a non-Jewish place of worship to join them, to worship idols because you want to spite Hashem. You, Hashem, says, I want back. Here's a hand. Come back to me, do tshuva, you're accepted. So far extends the kindness of Hashem, and this is the final tekiah. Which we end off with the skiyas, where a person knows that on Rosh Hashanah he has the ability, the opportunity to do tshuva, which is to do complete tshuva with the emes, but to come back to Hashem. He should take us within His fold. We should see with our eyes the Dias, Mashiach, the kiruv, and the Yerushalmi.
Amen.
I'm going to cover very lightly the dinim of Kiyah Shleifa, because it's not really negated to those who hear. We hear to the Baltikan, to the Balmakli, to know the halachas, except that those who hear the Tkiyas should know what they're hearing and why. The exact order. It's best to know what to expect. You're not so surprised if you hear suddenly a shvarim. What is the shvarim talking? You have to know why is that. As we said, there are three sets, three and no more. Tashrat, Tkiyah, Shvarim, Truah, Tkiyah. First set where the reason the Gemara gives is because we must blow a truah, which means the sound of a person crying. The sound of a person crying could be either gasping, or sobbing. Gasping is like shvarim, and then sobbing, staccato sound is sobbing, which, that's the teruah. You must have a tekiah first, tekiah, that's tashdat. Tekiah, shvarim teruah, and then tekiah. Or, the Yerushalmi might be just gasping alone. So it's just the shvarim alone. That's tashat, tekiah, shvarim, tekiah. Might be sobbing alone, therefore it's tarat. These are the three possibilities. The one goes on to explain it. Could have been a fourth, but there isn't. So on these questions we're not going into now. That's only for the classes and then it's just know those details. The juicy part. So now we have these three sets. In the three sets, if you notice, you know then that we have shleishim kailas for miyushav, which means that before we start the Shemona Esrei, the Musaf, we get together and we say on that sayach 7 times. That's which of course 7 times plus the Metzah, the Yimat, Shofar. We say it 7 times, and then the brachos, during which time every person must be standing and not leaning on anything. And then we have, in order, 3 times tashat. You say R Nosson, 3 times tashat, 3 times tarat. Every one of those letters stands for a koil. It's called a sound. If you have 3 times tashat, 3 times tarat, 3 times tashat and tarat, you have a total of how many sounds? Fast mathematician. What? Fast? Computers, huh? What? And a blow, I just said. 3 times tashat, 3 times tashat, 3 times tarat. How many colors do you have? Total. Huh? Julie? How much? Tashat is how many colors? The word tashat is 4 colors. Kia, shvarim, milky, is 4 colors. Tashat is 3 colors. Tarat is 3 colors. Together it's 10. That's what we have at once. We blow it 3 times each. That gives it a total of 30. That's of course too deep mathematics for children of your age, so we'll forgive you for that. You have 30 colors, that's called the 30 colors before the Shemona Esrei, it's called the 30 colors of Miyushav. Sitting, not if you sit, but it's before you stand for Shemona Esrei. And then during Shemona Esrei you have once Tashat, Tashat, Tarat. At the end of each division of the Shemona Esrei, there are 3 divisions. Malchus, Mechanius, and Shachidus. Middle of each division you have once blown Tashat, Tashat, Tarat, and then again. In other words, 10 colors during each division, which makes a total of 30 colors. In the Shemona Esrei, the Halacha, the sound, while you're davening. Pause, you hear these colors, you go on. That gives you a total of 60 now. When the Chazan repeats the Shemona Esrei for Musaf, again you do the same thing from Malchus, Aharon, and Sheves, 10 colors each, that gives you a total of 90. And then by Kaddish Diskab at the end, you blow once, Tashat, Tashat, and that's 10 colors, makes a total of 100 colors. The Gemara says is the requirement of the colors for the colors. Yeah, this is what is very good. This is Ashrei. We say Ashrei Hom Yodei Sruah. Ashrei those who know. What's what you know? You know how much to blow. Yodei, but you want to be 100. That's 100 colors altogether for the first day. 100 colors for the second day. This year we haven't got the birthday because it's still on Shabbos. And that gives you a total of 100 colors for each day. Now, because if you know this, these sets, you'll know exactly what to expect. You'll know also whether the color is correct, blown correctly or not. Very briefly, Tashat has a different tekiah than Tashat. Tashat a different tekiah than Tarat. Different in a sense, so the same. But it must be a different length. Again, it's very easy to hear a long tekiah. Not that easy to blow a long tekiah. The tekiah of Tashat must be longer. Longer than Tashat or Tarat, because the tekiah must always equal the length of the middle of the set. The middle of the Tashat is Shvarim Teruah, which is twice as long as Shvarim or Teruah alone. So therefore, Tashat tekiah is twice as long as the one of Tarat, longer than one of Tashat. Tekiah of Tashat is slightly longer than Tarat. Although Tashat Shvarim is 3 medium, Teruah is 9 short, which equals both, yet, in essence, it's not that muskam. There's a debate about the length of each one, so that actually Shvarim should be longer than Teruah. We'll come to that debate later on, which means a later day. Meanwhile, we have this fact that a tekiah for tashrat must be a long tekiah, equal to 3 medium and 9 short. But if that tekiah is too short, you're not into a tekiah like that. That's one of the difficult parts of blowing shofar. Tekiah tashrat must be a long one before and after. You have 3 times tashrat, it gives you a long pitch for that tashrat. Tashrat is easier, tekiah is shorter, and tarat is still shorter, so that there's no problem. Tarat, in fact, in the Yemen, tarat, if the tekiah is a length of 3 short, it's like 1 shortum, you're used with that tekiah. That's how easy the tarat is. The shot requires approximately 8 short, 8 or 9, and tashrat requires literally twice double teruah, which is 18 short. 18 short minimum. Now that's the length, and then of course we come to the short teruah itself, the number of each required, basically, and the Yemen how much years with. We'll take that up and mention tomorrow. Go more into detail. These laws, of course, are much more complicated and difficult, but dealing with geniuses, no problem at all. We'll get through it with a breeze. Let's hope that Mitchell was able to hear the kiyas properly. And hearing kiyas means, Rabbi Nachman says that the kiyas, blowing of shofar, is an amen. It corresponds to thunder. Thunder was created. Why was thunder created? Why was, you can ask a question, other things that were created. Why were Yaakov created? Why was thunder created? He said because thunder is supposed to inject a fear into a person's heart. The right kind of a fear of Hashem. That's why the thunder is given. A person should think, consider. And thunder is something that a person, when he says a bracha, is not supposed to be afraid of. Thunder, lightning. Why am I afraid of lightning? Generally not because we say a bracha that immunizes us against the danger of lightning. Doesn't mean you should stand out in the lightning field and carry a metal rod and say, I dare you. But it means that normally, if you say the bracha, the lightning will stay away from you to a good enough degree where you're definitely much safer than the average person. So that's not the question of physical fear of thunder or lightning. It's a question of arousing within a person a deep awe and fear, better than a fear of punishment by Hashem, fear of sin, a fear of the greatness, the awe of the greatness of Hashem. That's what the Aharon is supposed to do, and that's what the sound of the shofar is supposed to do. The person should absorb it, listen to it carefully, and it go not into the ear, but into the mind, into the heart, and there to remove all the foliage, all the wrong type of growth, to purify the heart, take out the chametz in a person's heart, to truly fear Hashem, Rav Yida and Rav Aharon, which was after that true Yida and Ahavas Hashem, and to the fear of God.